People move to North Carolina for a whole bunch of reasons. It might be the lower cost of living. It could be the more mild winters, being closer to family, the wonderful just outdoors that we have, the mountains, the beach, the triad. And along the way, you may have picked up on a piece of financial trivia, and that is that North Carolina doesn't tax Social Security. Now, that's true, but it leads people to an assumption that necessarily isn't true. Now, my name is Matt Landon. This is Money and Meaning, and I want to talk about North Carolina taxes and how this state is taxing your retirement account and its withdrawals. Now, this matters because that one fact about Social Security, it really gives people the wrong impression. And that impression is that the whole state is going to be easy on retirement income. It's not. Most of what you pull from your other accounts is going to be taxable. It's going to be on that table, and knowing which dollars are taxed and which are not, that really affects how you should think about the withdrawal. So here's where that assumption starts to fall apart. The first thing is that North Carolina has a flat state income tax. That applies to nearly all the money you withdraw from a traditional retirement account. So remember, with the federal taxes, it's graduated. Well, with the state, it's just a flat tax. That rate does change year to year. For 2026, that is a 3.99% rate. It was 4.5% just 2 years ago, and it's projected to keep declining if the state meets certain revenue targets. So the percentage is moving a little bit, but the principle really isn't, which is that your traditional 401k withdrawals, your 403b withdrawals, your IRA distributions, they're all taxed just like how they're going to be taxed federally as ordinary income. There's no special tax breaks for retirement income accounts, and that's unlike Social Security. So here's what we've seen quite a bit. Someone will hear there's no tax on Social Security on the state level and just assume their overall tax bill is going to be smaller in retirement. So then they take a $40,000 IRA distribution and lo and behold, realize the state noticed that. The second thing is to watch for is that a lot of people assume all pension income gets taxed the same way as it would for an IRA withdrawal. Something you want to keep in mind or remember is that that's generally correct, but there is an exception, and it's called the Bailey Act. It's called the Bailey exception. If you were vested in a qualifying government pension, now that could be state, local, or federal, and that was prior to August 12th, 1989, that pension is fully exempt from North Carolina income tax. That's not partially, that is fully. So you occasionally have someone who will say, oh, I want to take the lump sum from my pension, roll it to an IRA. If you do that and you're under the Bailey Act exemption, you lose that exemption. So there's reasons to sometimes take a distribution or a lump sum. There's sometimes reasons not to. Now, the catch here is the date. Most people retiring today weren't vested that far back. But if you or your spouse had a government job decades ago, even when you left long before retirement, it is worth checking. That vesting date is the whole ballgame. So since a 2021 law change, military retirement pay is fully exempt from North Carolina income tax. It doesn't matter how long you were vested. It doesn't matter how long you served. If it's retirement pay from the military, North Carolina doesn't touch it. And Roth withdrawals that meet the federal distribution rules, meaning you're 59 and a half, the account's been open for at least 5 years, that comes out tax-free at the state level too. Now, you might be looking at me going, Matt, I thought Roth accounts were tax-free. Yes, they are. Federally, state, it's dependent upon the state. North Carolina says, we're following the government guidelines here. We're not going to tax you on it either. Different states have different rules. Now, there's two categories. There's military retirement and qualified Roth withdrawals. These are dollars where the state tax question is already settled. This makes them worth considering really carefully when you're deciding what to draw from first and what to save for later. So think about what this looks like for a real family. If you've got a traditional 401k from your career, maybe you have a small pension from government job you left back in the 80s, and you got this Roth IRA you've been funding for the last 15 years, the 401k withdrawals are going to get taxed at the flat rate. There's no way around that. The pension might be fully exempt, but if the vesting dates line up with the Bailey Act, and the Roth comes out clean either way. So it's the same household, it's 3 accounts. It can be 3 different answers depending on when you took them, what they are, and when you worked, and how you draw from them. So the only way to really know is to look into it. account by account with your financial advisor and your CPA, put them in a room together and really run the numbers to understand your total tax bill. Don't just assume taxes work the same for all of your different funds because you might know something about your Social Security tax. At the end of the day, yeah, if you take nothing else away from this, you can stand confident knowing that North Carolina doesn't tax Social Security. And you know what? It doesn't tax your Roth account either. That is true. It's nice to know, but it's not the full story. I think the families that feel the most confident about their retirement income aren't the ones that know the most trivia, right? It's the ones who have planned account by account and actually know what happens with those different accounts to their money, to their tax bill when they pull it out, federally and locally. So that's where it goes from guesswork to an actual plan. Thanks for listening to Money and Meaning. My name is Matt Landon. We'll see you next time.